Hey everybody, for those that don't know me, my name is Eric and I'm the Theological Content Manager for all things First Five. So that includes our Bible studies, the app content, weekend teachings, weekend audio teachings, and anything that First Five publishes. I am helping to plan that and review it, and I just wanted to pop in today to just share with you some fun facts about the book of Esther. This first video, I'm just going to talk about some of the characters. And in the following video that I post, I'm going to just talk about some of the ironies in the book, some of the reversals that happen. So let's talk about the characters. I tried to make this a little bit interesting for you to think about these characters inside of the book of Esther. Ahasuerus, Haman, and Esther, and Mordecai. Those bottom left was by Rembrandt, and I'll share these again, but just to kind of pique your interest, these are the characters we'll be discussing real quick here. So let's talk about Ahasuerus. So some Bible translations actually use his Greek name, Xerxes, even though in the Greek it's Ahasuerus. We're writing Xerxes because we know that's who it is. So just to show you a quick example, if you were to go look side by side, like the English Standard Version has Ahasuerus here, and then in New International Version, you see Xerxes. So it's just because English Standard is doing word for word translation, and the NIV does a thought for thought, so like an entire sentence, and they're taking the opportunity to just say Xerxes because we know that's who it is. And the NIV takes that license in other ways. It's not bad, but this is literally what we have in the text. In the Hebrew would be Ahasuerus. So Ahasuerus was the king of Persia from 45 to 465, long time. This would be about, if we're looking at, this is a timeline that I created of the Old Testament, all the way from Adam to Jesus. And I have this big gray arrow pointing to the time of Ezra, so the temple would have been dedicated 515, and the events of Ezra or Esther probably come after that. So I say after because or I say probably just because there's some disagreement, or there's some conversation that goes on about the dates. The dates can be murky, right? We're not told exactly, specifically what date BC this was. So we have to sort of piece things together. But if you kind of notice, it's generally understood that the temple was finished and dedicated sometime around 516. And then the events in Esther are coming after that. So I put the events in Esther on this slide in red, and then the events in Ezra in blue. You see this wide range, there's an early date for Ezra leading the exiles to Jerusalem, and then there's a really late date of 398. And that's just how scholars have varied on piecing together these time periods for dates that were just not given. So Ahasuerus was known for his high capacity for war, but also his humbling defeat. So after attempting to conquer Greece, and here is a painting of him. I think this is also Rembrandt, but I'm actually not sure, so don't quote me on that. But the ancient historian Herodotus states that Ahasuerus was arrogant, unstable, and ineffective. Here's another quote, and this is from our study guide. In the book of Esther, Ahasuerus is a flat character, or one who does not change. He's consistent in his actions. He's easily manipulated. He has a quick temper, enormous wealth and power, indeed an explosive combination. So that's from our study guide. Now let's move on to Haman. So Haman was a member of the Persian court with a position higher than any other nobles. Now look at this verse from Esther 3:1. It says this: after these things, King Ahasuerus promoted Haman the Agagite, son of Hammedatha, and advanced him and set his throne above all the officials who were with him. So I found this picture. This is just an artist's rendition of Haman. Who knows what he actually looked like? Perhaps a sinister looking fellow like this man. But his character also doesn't change. He's the only one in the in the book whose motives are laid bare, sort of uh, like we are able to understand and peek into the hearts of others. We're able to kind of understand Haman's motives, which is interesting. Um, the narrator gives us insight into his emotions and feelings. So Haman is also insecure. Esther 3:5 says that when Haman saw that Mordecai did not bow down or pay homage to him, Haman was filled with fury. So he's selfishly ambitious. And this is chapter 6, verse 6. So Haman came in, and the king said to him, "What should be done to the man whom the king delights to honor?" And Haman said to himself, "Whom would the king delight to honor more than me?" And that question, that statement, reminded me of a Disney movie called Aladdin, and it reminded me a little bit of Jafar when he says that, "Whom would the king delight to honor more than me? Of course, it's me." So he is very selfish, very selfishly ambitious. He has a vast and tender ego, one scholar put it that way. And then this is also from our study guide. He soothed his injured self-image by manipulating the king into decreeing a genocide of the Jews. Early in the story, we also learn that Esther was an orphan raised by her cousin Mordecai. So now we're talking about the character Esther in the story. This is a painting by Rembrandt. It's called Ahasuerus and Haman at the Feast of Esther. Very interesting. Of course, Rembrandt didn't know exactly what these characters looked like, but it is fascinating to kind of see an artist's rendition of what may have looked like. And then here's a picture from a movie, one of the movies they made. But I put this in here that the Bible mentions Esther's tremendous beauty as the reason she was rounded up into the king's harem and ultimately named queen. So very shallow reason, but the Bible does say Esther was beautiful. That's why she was rounded up into the harem. That was the requirement, that she be beautiful. She's the only person in the book to have her two names pointed out. So her Hebrew name was Hadassah, and that is perhaps a nod to her assignment to live with both her identities in this Persian empire. So she has Esther and Hadassah as those names of both Jewish and Persian origin. She's also the only round character, so she changes. And she also shrank back. So some just think of how brave she was, but there's this moment where she actually shrinks back from speaking to the king. And in other books of the Bible, it kind of makes us nervous. I think in those moments where people are held accountable for shrinking back like that. And of course, the story actually goes well, but there's that moment for Esther, and then she actually does eventually get courage, as we know the story goes. So lastly, let's talk about Mordecai. We read about Mordecai's family tree in Esther 2, verses 5 through 6. And his family was part of the exile. So this means that Mordecai's descendants lived as exiles until this point for 114 years. So that's a long time. Here's a painting by Peter Lastman. I don't know if that's how you pronounce that, but it's called The Triumph of Mordecai. You can see Mordecai there with his kingly robe that was placed on him, and his and you can see like a rug kind of draped over this horse, very ornate, and Mordecai is being shown triumphant over Haman as the story goes. And so Mordecai also is a flat character. He's loyal, he has wisdom, determination, and also I liked this quote. And by the way, Rachel Booth and Rachel Booth's the author of the study guide here, and I liked this insight. He advised her and provided insight for survival. So I thought that was well. But and then here's just a artist's rendition of Mordecai here, kind of overlooking the city. And that's it for the characters. I hope this was helpful. Hope this blessed somebody and kind of piques your interest for continuing to study the book of Esther. All right, take care.